Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for joining us this afternoon for the webinar, Choosing Your Dissertation Topic Wisely. Before we get started with the presentation, I just have a couple of housekeeping announcements that I'd like to make. First of all, I have attempted to mute everyone, but if you find that you logged in since I made those changes, if you will just mute yourself so that we can all hear, and so that the audio quality will be as high as possible. I want to remind you that this webinar is being recorded, and if you are a registered participant in this webinar, you will have access to the archived copy. Also want to let you know that we will have an opportunity, or you will have an opportunity at the end of this webinar to ask questions, a limited amount of questions, and then if it's something that we need to follow up with you, then we definitely will do that within 48 hours. I also want to let you know that at the end of this webinar, we do ask that you take about 60 seconds to take our survey. The survey allows us to make sure that the services that we provide to you are of the highest quality. Again, on behalf of Habersham Educational Services, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. With that being said, we will get started. I am Dr. Sharita Habersham, and I will, along with Dr. Constantine, will be your co-presenters for this webinar. Just to give you a little bit of my background, you can see my picture right there. I did think one point in time I might want to do this live and do a webcam, but I decided against that. So that is my picture. My educational background, I have a PhD in educational psychology. I received that 2 years ago from Capella University. I have a master's certificate in information systems that I received from Georgia Southwestern State University, as well as an MBA in business management. I have an undergraduate degree in computer information systems, and I'm a certified online instructor. If you would like to follow me on Twitter, I'm at @Habersham. And Facebook, my business Facebook is Habersham Educational Services, and also this is my email address at the bottom here. My background, just a little bit, has been in higher education and in providing higher education services. I've been a full-time instructor, both online and land-based and hybrid. I've also worked as a senior business analyst for the University System of Georgia, as well as a project manager. Currently, I am the chief consultant and owner of S. Habersham Educational Services, and I'm located in Dublin, Georgia, which is in the middle of Georgia. That being said, I would like to introduce my partner, and she's also going to be our co-presenter, and together we will be working with you all as you walk through your dissertation process. Dr. Constantine?
Yes, good afternoon all, and thank you for attending our webinar today on choosing your dissertation topic wisely. I'm Dr. Constantine. I have a PhD in K-12 educational leadership from Walden University. I obtained my degree about 3 years ago. Actually, February will be 3 years. I have a master's in student personnel administration and counseling and another master's in special ed from the University of Georgia. My undergrad is in psychology. I'm a certified writing instructor and a certified high school English teacher. At the bottom is my email address. It's drvincentia@drsharita.com. I've had 13 years experience in writing at the high school level, and I have done dissertation coaching for about 2 years now, and I'm so excited to work. Dr. Habersham?
Thank you. Now, the proposed outcomes for this webinar, let me back up a second and tell you how this idea was born. Both Dr. Constantine and myself, we work as dissertation coaches, dissertation consultants. There are different names for what we do. I will tell you one of the things, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, that will differentiate us from other services is that, A, we earned our doctoral degrees, and we believe, I'm a member of the APA, and Dr. Constantine also subscribes to the ethics of the APA, and so we are not a paper mill. However, we will, when I say paper mill, we will help you earn your degree. We will take you through the steps, the processes that you need to go through in order to earn your degree. I think that's very important that we say that up front. And we also offer, in helping you earn that degree, we offer a very personalized experience. So if I have 5 students going through the cohort, everyone is going to have a different experience. But again, the reason we decided to come up with this is that we work with students in various levels. We work with different doctoral degrees, the PhD, the EDD. Some students are business majors, so they're getting a DBA. And what we found over, since we have been working with these students, is there are just certain areas that really every student needs. Even though they may be at different places, there are certain weak areas that pretty much all students come in with. And because we have went through this process, we understand what students need. We understand the processes of the universities. We understand, again, how important your topic is to the completion of that dissertation. And so the proposed outcomes of this webinar is that participant students will understand the importance of choosing a workable research topic. The second outcome is that students will understand the importance of planning in the dissertation process, and that you will learn how to take a very broad research interest and then transform that into a workable research topic. Even though, these are 3 outcomes, I've seen and I've experienced it myself when I was just going into my graduate studies, how long it took me to really grasp the concept of a workable research topic. So with these 3 outcomes, I will move to our next slide. During this presentation, you will see that I will cover the quantitative research and Dr. Constantine will cover the qualitative research. I want to remind everyone that if you are not muted, if you don't mind, if you would mute yourself so that we can have the highest quality possible. Quantitative research. What you have here on the slide is just the different areas of quantitative research. Of course, you have your problem, you have your background, your theoretical framework, your purpose, the significance, the design. You have your hypothesis, the assumptions, the limitation. Your terms in both quantitative and qualitative have to be explained, and you have your expected findings. Well, sometimes what we've noticed when students go into the research process is that they really don't take the time to look at how their topic, how these different areas will affect their topic. So when you're choosing your topic, you have to go through. I recommend for students to read your school's dissertation manual and at least be familiar with what is included in these different areas, what's included in the problem statement, the background statement, theoretical framework, and make sure that the topic that you choose, you're going to be able to have enough information to make these different areas full. You want these to be rich. You don't want to get down, choose a topic, and then get down to the problem and say, there's, really not a problem that I need to research based upon this topic. Dr. Constantine, if you'll care of the next one, please.
Absolutely. The same goes for qualitative research. Just to co-sign what Dr. Habersham just presented, it is absolutely vital that your topic will satisfy every single area of your dissertation. Again, going back to the very first objective, without a workable topic, you will get stuck somewhere in your dissertation. So as you can see, for qualitative research, some of the areas are identical to quantitative. When we get to areas of methods, that's where we see the difference between quantitative and qualitative. And those of you who are qualitative research students, you will know that some of our areas, or most areas really, for the research component would be the types of studies. Would that be case studies? Would that be ethnography? Is it some other area like single case or critical cases? That is really the main difference between the two. So again, going back to thinking about your topic, do we have a topic substantial enough to fit every single one of these areas? Okay. One of the areas students come across as thinking not as imperative as the others is that of definition of terms. And this is where you have to understand, so what terms are we thinking about in terms of your topic? So the first part of the topic would be, and I'm just hypothetically speaking here, let's say my topic is on the effects of exercise. Can we absolutely define the terms in our topic? If you can, then you can parlay that into collecting substantial, rich research articles. If you can, then you may need to go back and work your topic to get the information that you need to substantiate and carry through the entire process of your dissertation. Dr. Habersham?
Thank you. So what we have put together is 7 tips, and of course we have others, but we wanted to make this as concise as possible, but 7 tips for choosing your dissertation topic wisely. The very first tip, and both Dr. Constantine and myself agreed that this is probably the number one piece of advice that we can offer our learners. You have to know yourself. You have to ask yourself, what type of learner am I? Am I someone who, am I a kinesthetic learner? Am I very auditory? Am I even away from the different learning styles? Am I a morning person? Am I abstract? Am I a big picture type person, or do I like to put the pieces of the puzzle together? I'm starting from the smallest going to the largest. It's absolutely critical that you know yourself. You need to know your strengths. You need to know your weaknesses and be, very, very open. I'm not saying this is something that you want to just write down one day and say, okay, this is who I am. You want to write it down and then come back, maybe have conversations, with those who know you. Maybe go back and look at some of your previous academic writing to see where your strengths lie, where your weaknesses are. Again, learner, know thyself. Dr. Constantine?
Yes, what I would like to add to that is please do not wait until you get to your dissertation phase to change the type of learner you are. Stick with what's working. If you've always been the type of learner, the auditory learner, let's say, please stick to that. If you need to hear everything, go ahead and do that. Do not change your learning style in the middle of your dissertation. Stick with what works. Tip 2. Keep it simple. Very, very, very important. There will be a time and a place for solving the world's problems. Your dissertation is not that place, nor do you have the time. Pick a topic that will have a proposed end. I have seen dissertations that have gone on for almost 10 years. Please do not do that. You're simply trying to graduate. Hey, this is going to parlay into another tip we have, which is design. A lot of students, one of the very first questions I get is, well, should I do a quantitative or qualitative? Which is easier? It's not about which is easier. It's what is your topic and what would best support your topic. I started as a quantitative researcher. My degree in psychology accounts for that. However, when I went into my dissertation, my topic called for a qualitative type approach. So please pick your topic and then decide on which design would best suit your topic, not the other way around.
And to add to what Dr. Constantine just stated, also be mindful, those of you who are at universities where you have a mentor that's been assigned to you early, be mindful of your mentor. I've seen, and even I'll use myself as an example, I started out thinking that I was going to do qualitative. However, I decided later on, again, based upon my study, based upon the variables, based upon my research design, it lended itself to a quantitative study. However, my mentor at that time did not specialize in quantitative studies, so I had to change my mentor, and that could be a process, kind of a difficult process, just depending on where you're at. However, had I had this conversation, with my mentor or been more prepared going into that, then I could have chosen a mentor based upon the type of study that I was going to do. So just to recap, go ahead, when you're choosing your mentor, choosing your, it's called, that mentor is called different things at different universities. You want to go ahead and have the conversation up front. A lot of times when you're looking at the bios, it's already stated, but just, be cognizant of that. And just because you have a mentor that, just specifies in qualitative and your study lends itself to quantitative, don't be afraid to make that change. Or, you will need to change your research topic. Again, choose your topic before we worry about your design, because that's what I hear a lot. I'm on the blogs and I see the first thing out, students' mouth will be, what should I do, qualitative or quantitative? And that's definitely not the first question that you want to ask. You need to let your topic lead those discussions. Tip number 4 is choose a topic in which you have interest as well as some expertise and experience. Now, you can do a Google search on, using these keywords. How do I choose a topic? And I'm sure you'll get a lot of hits that say, choose something that you have an interest in. Well, again, you also need to have some experience and some expertise. And the reason, there are several reasons for this, but I'll tell you one. When you're starting to do your literature review, it helps if you, for instance, I chose to do my dissertation, dealt with higher education, and also dealt with dual enrollment or concurrent enrollment, as it's called in some states. And because I had served as a director of dual enrollment, I knew the journals that I can go and get information. I understood the terminology. Your committee, they are going to want to make sure that you understand what you are writing. They want to understand that at this level, at the scholar level, you are able to explain, what you are writing, and so it is not in your best interest to choose a topic that you don't have some foundation in. Again, time is money here, and the longer you have to spend trying to explain and do rewrites and find information, then that's more money you're going to have to spend on this degree. So again, choose a topic in which you have some interest as well as experience and expertise. Dr. Constantine, do you have anything to add with tip number 4?
Yes, just a minor addition. You will be the expert on your topic. Honestly, not your dissertation coach or mentor. It's you. Most of the time, they actually pose the questions to you because honestly, one person simply cannot be an expert in every area. So they're looking to make sure that you have thoroughly researched that area in which you're interested in. So you have to become the expert. So this is not a time to explore. This is simply a time to just hone in, go straight to the area in which you have some experience.
Our tip number 5 is to think about the research problem and ask yourself, and this may sound very blunt, but is this truly a problem? Is this truly a problem? I may have a research topic of, and again, this is just hypothetical, the effects of iPads in the classroom. Is that really a problem, or are we really seeing when technology is integrated into the instructional experience? Are we really seeing, based upon field studies, based upon the written research, increases in student outcomes with the objectives? Are we seeing higher engagement rates? So it truly may not be a problem. And even if it is a problem, you also have to ask yourself, okay, well, who cares? I've read many dissertations, published dissertations, and if you just look at the topic, it's like, okay, that sounds good, but again, is this relevant? Who cares? Again, like Dr. Constantine says, you are the expert. This is you. And so when you're finished with this, topic, and you will have, or finished with this dissertation, and you will have invested a lot in this, you want to be able to present this, maybe at different conferences, maybe present papers for different journals. So you want to reap some benefits, monetary benefits of your research. So again, when choosing a topic, think about it. Make sure it is truly a problem to solve, because it may not be, or it may be a problem to solve, but nobody, maybe even cares that, that is a problem. And the way that you find that out, again, is you have to have some background in the topic or in the area, and also with your literature reviews. Dr. Constantine, anything there?
Yes, absolutely. And please do a thorough search on your topic because it may just have been done time and time and time again and people have lost interest. And I know there are a lot of dissertations out there, so you need to find the thing, the hit on your topic to make it relevant and to make it significant. So not because you have an interest in an area means that it's deemed researching. See what's out there, scan the literature, read dissertations to find out, is the topic important, significant, relevant enough to explore.
Tip number 6, and this is very important as well. Dr. Constantine, I will let you go and talk about this one first.
Absolutely. Make sure your subjects are accessible. What does that mean? Make sure you can have access to these groups. And we call those in the literature special groups. Those can be minors, prisoners, those people who may have been inflicted with HIV, um, any one of these groups, or even individuals with disabilities. Make sure you are able to have access before you begin your work on your dissertation. I have seen it where people get to the point or to the place in the dissertation of data collection and they cannot have access to a special group. So find out beforehand if you will be given authority or the permission or access to enter one of these special groups. Okay, and as we talk further, we will have a list of some of these groups, so you are aware of some of some of these special groups you may not want to have a part of your dissertation if that means it's going to extend the time on your dissertation.
And our last tip that we have is an approach that I call word cloud approach. Now, a word cloud, it's also a type of graphic organizer. One of the most popular tools, it's a Web 2.0 tool, is called Wordle. And I'm going to chat that in so that everyone can see that. It's a free tool. You can navigate to that in your browser, and it will create a word cloud for you. And let me explain the approach to creating this. Take 3 days. And again, this is in choosing your topic. You want to start broad, but you want to narrow that down to something that's workable. Take about 3 days and just jot down different keywords and possible research topics, whether it's higher education, retention, adult education. Even if the words repeat, that's fine. You just want to jot this down on a legal pad somewhere. I recommend jotting it down in something like Evernote or OneNote, but just jot it down somewhere. Different possible dissertation topics. And then after about 3 days, you want to go to Wordle, and there are other word cloud makers, but this one is very simple, and just simply type all of those words in. Type all the words in, or copy and paste if you've been keeping that in in a word processing document or something like Evernote. Copy and paste that into the area, and it's very clear instructions, and then create a word cloud. And what you will see is that the words that stand out, those are the words that those are the key words that you should probably use in your topic. So if after 3 days you have created, you have different keywords, and the words that stand out are adult, education, effectiveness, engagement, then those are the areas. String those words together and something that's coherent, and that should be your dissertation topic. You can literally spend months trying to come up with a workable dissertation topic. This and all of them can meet the requirements that Dr. Constantine and I have talked about earlier. But you're just, looking at this one, oh yeah, I know this. I like to do this. I like to do this. And so you can come up with, 10 good topics, but you can only choose one for your dissertation. And so again, this word cloud approach using Wordle is an approach that's very effective that can help you narrow down your research topic to a workable topic. Do you have anything to add there, Dr. Constantine?
Just to bear in mind that your topic is fluid. It will continue to change until you defend your dissertation. And it could simply be removing, modification of a word, rearranging your words, and it has a lot to do with your dissertation mentor or coach, whomever that is, or yourself as you continue to dive into the literature. Just be open to rearranging and being flexible with your topic.
Thank you. And now we've given you those tips, that information, and so how can we help? Glad you asked the question. We have several options that we feel are just, we've refined these options, again, through trial and error on our part when we were going through the process. And so we will like to present these options to you, Dr. Constantine.
Yes. So one of the areas or services we offer is a writing curriculum. As you all know, you must be a proficient writer in order to be effective during your dissertation. So there are several areas you may or may not need. So the first one is, and very important, paraphrasing, summarizing. So you can get that wonderful score and Turnitin report. A lot of students have issues paraphrasing a research article simply because the wording can be extremely esoteric. It can be written for just a subset of the population, just a small group. So now you find yourself having language and the comprehension, okay, and have reword that using your own words can be a challenge. So we will be presenting on how to do that effectively. The other component to that is succinct writing. What does that mean? It means using less words to form a coherent sentence. So the way we wrote in high school absolutely will not work on the graduate doctoral level, okay? The other is recognizing correct sentence structure, eliminating fragments. Sounds pretty straightforward, but when you've been away from education for a while, and usually PhD students or older students, we sometimes need a refresher. Dissecting research studies. Again, this is one of these areas that you just need to know, okay, so what is needed? What am I looking for in chapter 1? What should it read like? What am I looking for in my literature review? What about the components of the literature review? You have the broad spectrum, but within that particular chapter, your lit review, there are other facets you do need to understand. Should it read like a story? Exactly what does it look like? Okay, which takes us into another element of writing. And we will really dive into that, dissecting each area of the dissertation. Proofreading and editing go hand in hand. And the final, which is so very important, APA, making sure you understand how APA affects, lack of it, in fact, affects your dissertation, headings, subheadings, and so on, your reference page, your topic, your title. So we will be offering this in addition to the other services at Habersham Educational Services today. So you can think about where your needs are. Do you think you need a refresher course and simply summarizing or paraphrasing? Or do you think you want to go straight into dissecting dissertation? Or you may just need to go back into what these articles are talking about. What exactly am I understanding? Am I understanding this correctly so I know I have a handle when I write my literature review? Anything here you want to add, Dr. Habersham?
I'd just simply like to add that these courses are personal. We pride ourselves on providing every learner the personalized experience. This is not just another online course without a face. This is a hybrid course. These are hybrid courses, and we have some in the methodology area that I'll talk about in a minute, where you not only get a real live face-to-face, via something like Skype once a week, but you also have the option of meeting in person. Because there are some learners, again, that's why you need to know yourself that, even though we can do a webinar, we can do a web conference, we can Skype, we can, do virtual classrooms, really just need to have us there to say, okay, can you spend a Saturday with me, sitting down, helping me walk through this? And so we provide that as well. This is a personalized experience. Again, if we have 5 people go through the cohort, they will have a different experience. They will finish at different times. But this is our writing curriculum. Again, the model that we have come up with, and we think it's a great model, is based upon two main components, and that is writing and research. I mean, let's face it, what do you do in a dissertation? You write and you research. And so this is our research curriculum. We have research methods where we delve in kind of a survey of the different methods. This is a survey, I'll leave it like that, of the different methods. And then we break it down in O1 and O2, qualitative research methods, quantitative research methods, and then 3 and 4, descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. Again, this is not like your typical college, even though we are both qualified to teach on the college level, and we do. This is not that type of course. This is an individualized experience so that you understand what research are. So if you get ready to take your research methods course, you're able to do it and be able to be very successful. Or if you've already passed coursework and you're starting your dissertation, you actually understand how your topic will lend itself to qualitative or quantitative research. And so when you get ready to do your data collection, you understand descriptive statistics and you understand inferential statistics. And that's our research curriculum. The last curriculum that we have is the application. As I said earlier, I have an extensive background in technology. One of the things that I believe in doing is solving problems using technology, and there's a lot of applications that a graduate student can use. Many of them are free that we like to share with our learners. The first one that we have, and we're going to be expanding in this area, but the first one that we have is just using Google Drive for data collection and storage, and then using Excel. And not only just using Excel, we can also, I should substitute that to say spreadsheet. I did not I used SPSS in my data collection and my analysis, but everything that I did in SPSS, I also could have easily did it in Excel. And so that's not going to be the case for everybody, but just depending again, on your research, depending on the data that you are using, that you are needing, you may not even have to purchase something like SPSS because Excel is very robust in data analysis, and actually the newest version has an extra layer for data analysis. And this is also important using Excel if you're going to use a public data set, like some of the NCES, National Center for Educational Statistics, public data. If you're going to use any of those data sets to collect your data, which is what I did, cost you absolutely nothing. It's important to know how to get that data using their data extraction tool and bring that into Excel. So that's a part of our application curricula there. One of the things I would like to say, and then I'm going to pass it back to Dr. Constantine, is that, again, we earned our degrees, and we expect all of our learners to do the same. We are here, though, to cheerlead you on. We are here to help you so that you can get through what can be a very disturbing, very complex time in your life. So, many people, there are some people who, choose to scale back their work and work part-time to get through dissertation. There are some people who, scale back completely and just dedicate because this is a full-time job. And then there are others, like myself and Dr. Constantine, we were working full-time in the educational system as we were going through our dissertation. And so we understand just how important it can be to get through this as quickly as possible, so you'll get the education, but you won't spend 8 years accumulating student loan debt trying to get this dissertation. We pride ourselves on individuality. We pride ourselves on our quality. We pride ourselves on the learners that go through our program because we know that you will be prepared. And we actually offer warranty, and we'll talk about that in the last slide, that if you go through our program and follow our prescription, we will be there with you to the end to make sure that you successfully defend that dissertation, because we are here to help you. Dr. Constantine?
Co-signing on everything you said. Just think of it as a partnership, that there is someone with you through those wee hours of the night. You don't feel as isolated as I did when I was going through my own dissertation process. I think the biggest obstacle is the right component. Make sure that you understand how it's actually imperative that you can write and write well to satisfy the components of your dissertation. So think of it, think of everything we've presented today, including what type of learner are you. Put all those parts of the puzzle together to form the picture that you need leaving here today, and ask yourself, where are you? Are you ready for this challenge? Because it is absolutely that, a challenge, and you will be okay with the services we have provided today. Dr. Habersham, you want to talk about the warranty?
Our warranty guarantees that any learner that enrolls in our program and follows our model has the necessary tools to complete dissertation. If you choose to do that, we will offer peer review services at no additional charge, because we know, we stake our names on it, that you will be ready for the dissertation. Now, again, we are starting our first cohort for 2015 the first week of February, and so we're very excited about this because we've added some additional services, and we think that those services, based upon our research, is really going to help our learners even more. We are very excited about what we've been able to add. That will be starting the first week of February. But again, if you enroll in our program and you follow our, what I like to call our prescription, our model, we know that you will be successful. You have access to us. You will get access to our phone, our email, our virtual chat. We will virtually chat with you at least an hour every week. We will make contact with you. We will get to know you. We will make in-person visits to you, depending on what you sign up for. Of course, depending on where you're at, that's just some of the logistics that we will have to work out. But we do offer that service, very personalized, confidential experience before you sign up. And we take your money. We will sit down and go over the contract with you to make sure you understand, to make sure what you're signing up for, so that there's no questions whatsoever. We are scholars. We are professionals. We want to make sure that you are successful, so that then in turn, you can maybe come back and partner with us and provide the same services for others that are going through this educational process. And before we open up for questions, Dr. Constantine, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I think we're ready for our Q&A.
Okay. We are going to open up the meeting so everyone is unmuted. I see a couple people are on cell phone. So you can either chat your question in, or you can, just go ahead and speak it. Try to be careful and make sure if anybody else is speaking while you're attempting to speak, and if you'll just wait for a minute so that everyone can be heard.
All attendees are unmuted.
Okay, we have a question. Thank you, Dr. Outlaw. What is in place when the information you provide in your services that the chair or mentor would happen to disagree with? Well, I'm going to let Dr. Constantine speak to this as well, but initially I would say that, are you saying that we would provide something that they would disagree with, or is this just an experience that you've had? Can you give me a little example there? Is it something dealing with formatting? We can give an example. We can answer that question a little better.
Are you referring to me? This is Veronica. I was disconnected briefly,
Yes.
so okay. I'm sorry. What happened to me towards the end was I reached out to a consultant, if you will. I was almost at data collection phase, and I think I was working on chapters 3 and 3 at the time. But her advice to me was more towards the actual data collection part and the statistical part. And the information that she was giving me and the outline that she gave me to write my dissertation was something that my chair did not agree with. So I ended up having to kind of start from scratch. It was a very frustrating process. And just wondering what place to kind of combat that. Or are you only dealing with students who were from your colleges, that the institutions that you graduated from?
Okay, thank you for that. And no, we will welcome any student from any university, but of course we will approve. We have to approve you if that makes any sense. But this is what we do. We spend our time making sure that we are familiar with your university, if you're at the University of Alabama or the University of Georgia. We take time to make sure that we understand the ins and outs of every program that we deal with. There are some that we deal with more than others, so we know those a little better. But we take the time to make sure that we understand those programs. And so we work with you and your mentor, because at the end of the day, it's going to be your committee led by your mentor that's going to sign off.
Right.
And so I have seen comments that, came from a mentor that I personally disagreed with, but I'm not that person's mentor. I'm just helping them. So we will not provide anything that is contrary to your university's policies. We will not provide anything and say, well, your mentor is absolutely wrong, because at the end of the day, they're going to be the people that have to sign off. So all of your outlines that we would provide will be per your university.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Constantine.
Yes, just to further comment on this, yes, it does happen. However, remember, you are the expert. You're the student in this situation. We're simply a group of people in support of you. We are not here to make your life any harder than what it is going through this dissertation process. So we will not counteract anything that you're asking of you to do. All we're going to do is to support what they've asked of you to do. Whether or not I may not be in agreement with it, again, they are the ones signing your dissertation. We are not. So we are simply going to provide the resources you need to get through it, regardless of how we may feel about it.
Okay, that was helpful. I didn't have that same experience, and so I just thought I'd ask the question.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And that is a very good question. And again, that's why I think what sets us apart from other services is that, again, like Dr. Constantine says, we are here to support you. So if your, mentor comes back and says you got to rewrite this because this is not right, then whether or not we agree with it or not, we are here to support you so that you don't have to be so frustrated. I'm not understanding what he's talking about. I'm not understanding what she's talking about. We're well versed on the policies of your institution. And if it's a new institution, that we've not worked with, like I've never worked with Middle Tennessee, then before we, sign you up, then we will get our team together. We'll get versed on the proper protocols from Middle Tennessee, and then we'll say, once we're ready internally, then we'll bring on the client and then support you.
Okay. That's good to know because from a student's perspective, when you're paying a consultant money and they're doing the reviews, or let me take that for myself, paying them money, I wanted to be just right because that person was reviewing and I was paying her, and I kind of drifted off into making sure I was doing what she wanted, but at the end of the day, my mentor kind of got lost in the shuffle, and that is what caused the havoc for me. I was lucky enough that the consultant at the time, I was her first client, and she did not get familiar with the University of Alabama. I was, if you will. And so I was lucky enough that in that process, she released me from the contract. So that's something to be aware of, that students may be feeling obligated to make sure what you tell them to do is the right way because they're paying you. But at the end of the day, like you said, your chair or your mentor has the final say, and you've got to do what they say to get out of the trenches.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And thank you for that. And that's, regardless of who you decide to choose, that is a very valid point. You want to make sure that you choose a subject matter expert, not only in your methodology, not only in your study, not only in the whole dissertation process, but you want to make sure that they understand, your university's process. And also the student has a responsibility to understand that process as well. But we're here to support you, keeping in mind that we've been through the process, so we understand, and keeping in mind we understand that the mentor, at the end of the day, will have the last say. Your mentor should be your strongest proponent in the academic world. But if you think about it, you're paying tuition, and this isn't to say anything negative about any of the universities, but you're paying, money, and the longer it takes for you to figure out, what's being said and what you need to do, then that's more money that you're paying to the universities. It's more money you're going to have to repay if you're taking out a student loan. And so we're just here to help in that process.
Thank you.
Sure. Are there other questions? We have about 4 minutes left if we have any questions.
I'd just like to say I appreciate you doing the webinar. I wish I had this information when I was going through my process, but it was very useful. So I wish the both of you blessings in your endeavors with this project.
Thank you. We appreciate it. If you are aware of other students who may need some assistance, feel free to send them our way. We'll be more than happy to evaluate them and work with them. We pride ourselves in personalized services, so once we get that first cohort going, we're going to stay with that cohort to make sure they're getting what they need. So we're not just taking people on just to take people on. We're taking a certain number on to get them through, and then we can start our second cohort. And the first one is going to be started in February, first week of February.
I think are you the one that registered for the virtual conference in February? The Fantas Tech virtual conference?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm on the committee, and there are going to be some graduate students presenting at that conference, so you'll have an opportunity if you want to talk to individuals who are going through dissertation phase. Talk to their avatar virtually, but you can exchange contacts and put it out there.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that opportunity.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We do have another question. The question is, can you touch on cost? And again, yes, however, it is an individualized approach as we or you are at different starting places and points. Even with the writing component, you may not need all the proposed sections that we're offering. You may simply need a refresher on the dissection of the dissertation, or you may need an APA refresher. So it really depends on you and your needs. Same as the statistics component, which is why we're asking that you think about where you are, genuinely think about it for both aspects, and then decide what you think you will need, and you will have access to this PowerPoint, and then get in touch with us, and we will provide that information.
And to add something to what Dr. Constantine said, at the end of this presentation, there's going to be a quick survey, and it's going to ask if you would like for us to follow up with you. If you will just put that information in, then we will definitely do a callback within 48 hours and do a consult with you, again, to kind of see where you're at, and then provide you a package price based upon what our discussion is. And at that point, it will be, because Dr. Constantine does the writing, and so Dr. Constantine, correct me if I'm wrong, it will be an estimate, because I believe you have to do some type of assessment to see exactly where everyone is. Is that correct?
Yes, let me speak on that briefly. Yes, there will be an assessment so I can gauge your writing. Nothing really difficult. Just a few sentences, a few for me, that is, about 4 to 6 sentences, so I can place you accurately if, in fact, you do not know where you are. And then from there, we will decide together what you think you may be needing from the writing course sequence. Now, there is another question that goes into this. What is the time frame for taking each course? If you're referring to the writing course, again, it depends on your needs. For some students, they fly through it. For others, not so much, because some people absolutely cannot stand the concept of writing, and they simply may be mathematical individuals, and some just love it, like myself. So it all depends on how quickly you're able to go through the courses and exactly what you would need from these courses.
And I can tell you just a little bit about the setup. If you are familiar with a learning management system, we have a Moodle, and they're set up in modules, and they are you go through each module with your instructor. So it's not, and everything is very private. So again, you may have 5 people in the cohort, but they're not going to be able to see what you're doing. And you have those resources available to you, so that you can then come back. Maybe you have feedback, maybe you presented something and then you have feedback on it. It's right there for you, so you don't have to chase it in your email, in your Dropbox, in your SkyDrive. One of the also overall objectives of this program is also to help you with your organization skills. because even if you're the best writer, if you're the best researcher, if you're great with statistics, I find that all of the grad students, myself included, could use help in just being a little better organized. And if you're a disorganized person now, you definitely need to get a system of organization when you start your lit reviews, you start your data collection, because nothing is more frustrating than having that article, but I can't find what I did with it. Or I have this data, but I can't find what I did with it. So that's another objective of our services, is just to help you become a little bit more organized in this process. But again, if after we're finished with this and we're about up with our time, if you will take the survey, it's just a few minutes, and then we ask you if you'd like for us to follow up, if you will give us a phone number and an email address, we will set up a time and do a private webinar with you, or prefer if you need us to do something like Skype, but I prefer to do it in a webinar type atmosphere. That way it's controlled. Then we'll do that. We'll follow up with you in 48 hours and be able to give you a better price. Okay. Other questions? We have time for one more before we end this webinar, and you're able to take the survey. Again, if you can reach out to us directly, this is my contact. This is Dr. Constantine's contact information, and also you can give us your contact information at the end. Any questions? Anything else, Dr. Constantine?
We're simply waiting to support you as best as we can through this process.
Thank you all so much for your time. You've been a great audience. If we can help you, please, we'll be looking to speak with you. If you have friends, we'll be waiting to speak with them as well. This meeting was recorded, and so at the end of the recording, it'll probably be within an hour. You can also receive an archived version of this. It will stay, the link will stay active for 30 days. So again, feel free to pass the information on. Thank you so much. On behalf of Dr. Constantine and myself, we bid you a great day, a blessed day, and we're looking forward to partnering with each of you. Have a great day.
Have a wonderful day. Thanks.